Hi, everybody. So I am doing a quick PowerPoint video with you guys on Jamestown, the first permanent English colony, which is where we start off the year for US1. This actually is not my PowerPoint. It was graciously shared with me with a teacher from down south who um, we worked together on Twitter. Uh, but some of the background information I'm adding to this PowerPoint for you guys to know. So Jamestown, hopefully you've heard of this already. And first, let's look a little bit about the political and economic background to Jamestown. King James I was the King of England. He granted a charter to the Virginia Company in 1606 to settle and civilize America. He really had another purpose as well, which was to propagate the Christian religion there. He wanted to prevent the Spanish advancements in the New World and find a northern passage to Asia. So, of course, you see that as an economic motive and a political motive. This is the time period when the English and the Dutch started replacing the power of the Spanish and the Portuguese as far as exploration went, and trade, and settling the New World and all those sorts of things. And this land in Virginia would remain the property of the king under this Virginia Company. So what is the Virginia Company? It was a joint stock company, and it was a group of wealthy investors who were shareholders, and their plan was to establish settlements in America for a profit. So once again, you have economic motives here. Their goal was to establish settlements on the coast of North America. And they also had a settlement in Plymouth. So that was both by the Virginia Company. It was the same charter, just different territory. And they would create a self-governing settlement there. So think about self-government and American democracy and our roots as far as that goes. Now, they had to convince people to leave and go there. So, of course, these are some of the motivations they provided for people. We think of religious opportunities, which of course you see more so in Plymouth. With Virginia, you see more as economic motives. So then they go to the New World in 1606 and land there in 1607. Edward Maria Wingfield was a member of Parliament back in England. And he was basically a big mover and shaker with this Virginia Company. He was a big financial backer for this settlement. And he was elected president of the governing council at Jamestown. So he won the first election in the New World as far as by European settlement goes. That's a fact a lot of us don't know, but that's pretty important if you think about American political history, that he was the first one to win an election. And also think of when you bring all these people to the Americas, what skills do you need these people to have, right? Look at what's the largest occupation. Look what they call that. What is a gentleman? Well, they had to end up doing labor as well, even though gentlemen might not have done hard labor back in England. Maybe that was a disadvantage in some way. Why did they choose Jamestown? Well, there was a lot of geographic reasons why. This area had lots of forests with freshwater rivers that made it good for logging. Logging was popular. It was essential. It also made it good as hunting grounds as well. Now we have the Powhatan natives that live there. It says about 14,000. Some say as many as 21,000 lived in Eastern Virginia at this time. They also were sometimes referred to as the Virginia Algonquins. So if you hear them, it's basically the same thing. And of course, you've probably heard about Pocahontas. The Disney movie is not historically accurate, all right? But there was some conflict between the natives and the settlers, as you can imagine. At first, the trade was going well, but then the natives did not like some of the maneuvering that was done by the leadership at Jamestown, and they started to be a little bit more uncooperative. So Jamestown had a fort to protect them from the Powhatans, amongst who knows else. What if the Spanish came or whoever? The fort was a wooden palisade. It was in the shape of a triangle, you might see here. And at every tip of this triangle, there was a bulwark with artillery, that's basically like cannons. And within the triangle would be the storehouse, the church, and most of the homes. Another image here. Right, so these are the bulwarks. That's the triangle shape. And you can see what's provided in front of it. Now, things did not go so well when they got there, and there was a period known as the starving time. This was from 1609 to 1610. There were food shortages. Also, there were problems with fractured leadership there, and issues with the natives, and a siege by the Powhatans, basically. So 2 of every 3 people at Jamestown died in this point. The Jamestown settlers were able to trade corn with the natives in the beginning for the first 2 years, so people were not starving. But then that stopped because of some conflict. In 1609, a fleet was sent to send food to the people there, but didn't go so well. There was a hurricane, and most of the ships were damaged off the coast of Bermuda. So hurricanes causing problems is unfortunately nothing new. John Smith tries to solve the problem. He is a leader there between 1608 and August of 1609. He was an explorer, a leader. He mapped the Chesapeake Bay. And think of what he said about Jamestown, which I'm going to tell you here, and think about, once again, the tradition of early American politics that continues to this day. He said, describing Jamestown, "Every man here may be master and owner of his own labor and land. Every man here may be master and owner of his own labor and land." Now, of course, if you think about slavery, you might be like, wait a minute. But think about what is important in America. What are the American themes? And did they begin at Jamestown? Some help did arrive, but as we know, Jamestown did not remain a settlement. It sort of left and came back. Cash crops, which were mostly tobacco at first. Tobacco, there was great demand for tobacco in England. It led to profits and to prosperity, but of course it also led to things like slavery, because there was a lot of land to grow things here, but that meant, well, we need labor, and there weren't a lot of labor to do so. Right, so that's a cash crop. When I was driving through Virginia this summer, what did I see? The big Philip Morris company, which is a maker of cigarettes. So see how important that area is to tobacco. That was around Richmond. Labor finally arrived, but unfortunately, to keep up with the demand, that also led to slavery, which we will be talking a lot about this year. Okay, there were indentured servants in the decade following. And we have the House of Burgesses, which is the first legislative assembly in the American colonies, which was created July 30th, 1619. So check out the year, it's a bit later. And it was first held in a church in Jamestown. And there were 22 Burgesses at first. They were representatives of 11 plantations or settlements, and they were the first elected representatives in the Americas. We will be talking a little bit later about the roles